There was a thread inside me I spent most of my life pretending wasn't there. Not tugging at my gender. I've always been at peace being male, but pulling at something softer, something the world had already decided didn't belong to boys like me. The rules arrived early and without instruction manuals. A girl could be a tomboy and earn admiration. A boy showing anything remotely delicate earned a different reward. Laughter, sideways looks, a quick lesson in shrinking yourself. So I learned to fold those parts of me away, neatly, like clothes stuffed into a drawer that never quite closed. And the drawer kept rattling. I was a teenager when I first understood what the sound meant. Alone in the house, I found myself drawn to my mother's closet, not out of confusion, but out of something closer to relief. Slipping into those clothes felt like exhaling after holding my breath for years. I was never caught outright, though in hindsight, the clues I left behind probably painted a picture my parents quietly chose not to frame. They let it sit. So did I. What began as comfort gradually grew more textured. The clothing still brought ease, but layered beneath it was a fantasy that took years to name, imagining myself in a softer, more yielding role during intimate moments. This tangled me up internally. I'm straight. Never been drawn to men. Though I'll confess, with a grin, there's exactly one celebrity who could make me pause and reconsider everything. Love, when it finally came, didn't come from me. She made the first move, pulled me onto her lap after I fixed her laptop, and kissed me like it was the most obvious thing in the world. We lasted nearly 2 years. She even knew about the crossdressing, discovered through my browser history, like an archaeologist unearthing something I hadn't buried deep enough. She was tolerant, mostly. But tolerant isn't the same as wanting, and I could feel the gap, always almost right, never quite enough. She cheated. Twice. After the second time, the story closed. There was a costume party, once during that relationship. She went as a football player. I went as a cheerleader. The symbolism aged like wine I didn't drink until years later. Then came the drought. 15 years of silence where relationships were concerned. Anxiety had its own architecture in my life, built walls I couldn't see over. Approaching women felt like asking to be ejected from a building I'd barely entered. But during those quiet years, something crystallized. I'd read about female-led dynamics before and dismissed them as fiction. Slowly, I stopped dismissing. I started wondering whether the thing I'd been orbiting could actually have gravity, whether a relationship built on feminine authority and willing surrender could exist outside a screen. I joined forums. I searched for maps. Mostly, I found more questions. But I kept walking. Eventually, I found a door. A local professional dominatrix offering structured, non-intimate sessions. Everything within legal lines. Everything consensual. Approaching women in ordinary life felt like climbing a mountain in flip-flops, but sending an email to her felt like stepping onto an escalator. Safer. Clearer. Defined. We exchanged messages. Thoughtful, unhurried. She gave instructions for our first meeting. Arrive early, dress properly, no jeans or t-shirts or hats. Request a booth. Leave a note with the hostess, so she could find me. I followed every word. Sat in that booth with a consultation fee in an envelope in my pocket and my pulse in my throat. She arrived late enough to be memorable. Red hair, vivid and unapologetic. A presence that rearranged the room. We ordered drinks and, by some quiet coincidence, the same carrot cake. Conversation unspooled like thread from a spindle. My dating failures, my lack of BDSM experience, my interest in feminization, even my mild seizure condition. She listened the way good doctors listen, without flinching, without fixing, just absorbing. She said we'd only do what felt safe. We scheduled a session. She told me to bring my own outfit, dress or skirt, undergarments, shoes, preferably low heels. She'd handle wigs, makeup, accessories. Her suggestion for sourcing, thrift stores. Goodwill was invented for this, she said, and I laughed for the first time in weeks. Women's sizing humbled me in stores. I retreated to the internet. A simple midi dress, stockings, wide-fit shoes, my existing padded bra, and chest forms. I groomed like I was preparing for a ceremony. Depilatory cream, shaving what I could reach, moisturizing like my skin had a personal grievance against me. Session day. I was a cathedral of nerves, equal parts exhilaration and catastrophe planning. Her space was a converted church in a quiet neighborhood, which felt almost too on the nose. Place payment in the box. Remove shoes. Sit. Wait. Silence. When she appeared, she was dressed like someone who understood power as a fabric: skirt, tights, blouse, later a corset-like top. The old sanctuary had been reinvented. Ornate furniture, restrained equipment, a raised platform with a throne-like chair that faced the room like a sentence, looking for a period. She guided me through everything. I changed in the bathroom, emerged, knelt. She inspected my choices with the careful eye of someone grading a first draft. Then structured play, posture training, soft cuffs, symbolic markings, a collar, a blindfold, light inspection. When sensation play crept past my threshold, I signaled. She stopped instantly. No friction, no negotiation needed. Professional. Present. We shifted gears. Human furniture practice. I became a bench, a footrest. I removed her heels, gave a simple foot massage, painted her nails. Then the feminization work, dressing me properly, teaching me to walk in heels with the patience of someone who'd taught 100 wobbling students before me. Makeup applied with practice strokes. A wig fitted, and later, a special reddish one from her personal collection, because I told her I loved her hair. She took photos with my consent, offered walking and sitting and posing guidance, and we talked like people who'd known each other longer than we had. She teased about shopping together someday, places where no one cares, no one judges. I told her I wasn't ready for that. She accepted it with a playful shrug and zero pressure. After a few hours, she helped me undo it all, remove, clean up, change back. The experience wasn't sexual. It was emotional in a way that sex sometimes isn't. I had shown the parts of myself I'd spent a lifetime hiding, and the response was acceptance delivered with structure, like a house built around me while I stood still. We emailed a few days later. She sent the photos. I returned for a second session weeks later, steadier in heels, better at coordinating outfits, subtler with shaping garments. More conversation. Light discipline. She suggested shopping again. She encouraged painted toenails. I declined. She created the safe space anyway. Looking back, those 2 sessions were a classroom. The curriculum was trust, vulnerability, and the architecture of what I actually wanted: guidance, acceptance, and the freedom to stop performing a version of myself that didn't fit. What I still wanted, what I'd always wanted, was for that dynamic to exist without a transaction, without a clock, without an envelope in a box. Months passed. Emails tapered, not from conflict, just from gravity. Life pulled us in different directions. I kept the photos private and revisited them like letters from a former self. Small shifts began. More consistent grooming, softer skin, and one evening, alone at home, I painted my toenails a subtle nude shade. The same thing I'd declined in her studio. Now, in private, it felt like carrying a piece of that permission forward. I stayed active in FLR forums, reading more than writing, learning that others had crossed the bridge I was still standing on. Some found dominant partners through kink communities. Others introduced the idea to vanilla partners who surprised them. The paths varied. The destination didn't feel impossible anymore. Then she reached out. Not for a booking, but with a message that rearranged my afternoon. I've been thinking about our shopping idea. There's a low-key boutique event next weekend. Mostly women shopping for outfits. Very discreet. No pressure to explain yourself. Interested in tagging along as my friend? No session fees, just company. My stomach performed an acrobatic routine. Going out in public, even subtly, was a line I'd drawn in permanent ink. But the ink had been softening for months. I replied yes. We met at a cafe first. She looked like herself, red hair catching afternoon light, dressed casually chic, like someone who could command a room without trying. Over coffee, she mapped the plan. A private pop-up sale at a plus-size and alternative fashion warehouse. Attendees included crossdressers, trans women, kink enthusiasts, a crowd where blending in meant simply existing. I could wear something understated. Women's cut jeans, a flowy top, flats, light makeup. Nothing loud. You set the pace, she said. If it feels wrong, we leave. No questions. I spent the week in quiet preparation. A soft women's blouse ordered online, subtle pattern. Women's jeans that fit my hips better than anything in the men's section ever had. I practiced walking in low wedges at home, applied minimal makeup, foundation, mascara, lip gloss, with the concentration of someone defusing a bomb. The day arrived. I met her in the venue parking lot, heart operating at a speed it was not designed for. She hugged me warmly, gave me a quick once-over, and said the 6 words I needed. You look great. Natural. Ready. Inside, racks of dresses, lingerie, accessories. Women and a few feminine-presenting individuals chatting with. The ease of people who'd done this 100 times. No stares. A couple of compliments on my top. We shopped for 2 hours. She helped me choose a beginner-friendly midi skirt, a pair of cute ankle boots, and on a whim, a simple choker necklace she said would look elegant with the right outfit. I tried things on in a private changing area, emerging each time for her nod of approval. It felt normal. Exciting, but not terrifying. The two are not the same thing. On the drive home, she asked how it felt. I said, like I belonged, not fully as a woman, but as someone allowed to be this version of myself without hiding. That outing loosened something. We met more, not always sessions, sometimes coffee or thrift shopping. She quietly introduced me to a small local circle of like-minded people. Through them, I met Lena. Lena was mid-30s, confident, kind, and openly dominant. She'd been in female-led relationships before and was looking for someone who wanted structure without extremes. We talked online for weeks before meeting in neutral spaces. Our first real date was simple. Dinner, then back to her place, where she asked me to change into something feminine. I'd brought the skirt and top from the boutique day. No pressure for anything sexual. Just sitting together while she guided my posture, complimented how I carried myself, offered gentle corrections. It felt like the sessions, but warmer. More personal. Like the difference between a rehearsal and a performance where someone is actually watching because they want to. Over time, we built rules. I handle certain household tasks when I'm over. I defer to her decisions on small things. I present femininely during our time together. In return, she provides the guidance, affirmation, and safety I'd been reaching toward my entire life. It's not perfect. Old anxieties still visit. Boundaries shift and get renegotiated. But for the first time, this side of me isn't hidden in a drawer or paid for in an envelope. It's welcomed, nurtured, celebrated. I don't know the exact label anymore. Maybe it's just being the softer, more yielding partner in a loving female-led relationship. Whatever it is, it fits. 6 months in, the rhythm settled like water finding its level. We don't live together yet. That conversation lives in the future, but I spend most weekends and a couple of weeknights at her place. The rules are clear, consensual, and adjusted regularly. I arrive dressed in whatever she's approved. Often a skirt and blouse for evenings, sometimes lingerie beneath casual clothes. Household duties fall to me. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, done with care, because service done well is its own form of devotion. Deference is constant. I ask permission for small things, what to eat, when to sit. I use ma'am or Miss Lena when we're alone. I defer to her on plans, purchases, even grooming. She gives structure in return. Praise when I do well, gentle corrections when I don't, a firm word, a light swat, time in the corner when needed. She loves seeing me blush when she compliments my legs in stockings or how my makeup is improving. The balance is precise, like a scale that was always meant to tip this way. One weekend stands out. She declared full immersion, no male clothing from Friday evening to Sunday night. I packed a suitcase, dresses, heels, nighties, my growing collection of lingerie, makeup, and a wig she'd helped me choose, soft auburn, framing my face in a way that made me look in the mirror and see someone I recognized. She greeted me at the door in her favorite outfit, leather skirt, corset top, and had me change in the hallway. I folded my male clothes neatly, slipped into what she'd laid out. Black lace panties, matching bra with inserts, sheer thigh highs, a fitted black dress that hugged my waist thanks to the light corset training we'd begun, and 3-inch heels I'd finally stopped wobbling in. She inspected me head to toe, adjusting straps, smoothing fabric, running her fingers along my freshly shaved legs. "Perfect," she said, kissing my forehead. "My pretty girl." The weekend deepened everything. Posture training while I cooked, back straight, steps small. Serving dinner on my knees first to present the plate, then eating at her feet while she fed me bites. Movies with me curled against her hand in my hair, or tracing the slim locking collar she'd given me, worn only at her place, for now. Light discipline. Over-the-knee spanking for forgetting to curtsy when entering a room, nipple clamps during a timeout when I got too chatty. Nothing extreme. Just enough to make the structure feel real and the surrender feel earned. Sunday afternoon, she surprised me. "You've earned an outing. Just a short one. The park nearby. No one will notice if you're subtle." My heart reorganized itself. The boutique had been a crowd to hide in. This was daylight, public, no buffer. She chose carefully: high-waisted women's jeans, a flowy tunic, flats, light makeup, no wig, my own hair styled softly, and a thin scarf to soften my neckline. We walked hand in hand. A few glances. Nothing hostile. We sat on a bench. She had me rest my head on her shoulder while she scrolled her phone. "See? The world doesn't end. And you look adorable." Back home, I cried, not from sadness, but from the sudden realization that the fear had become smaller than the joy. She held me, whispered how proud she was, how much she loved this side of me. "We're talking about bigger steps now, moving in together, laser hair removal," she offered to help fund, even exploring chastity for longer stretches. I still have doubts. Family doesn't know. Old anxieties knock. But the trust we've built turns those knocks into something manageable. This isn't fantasy anymore. It's real, messy, beautiful, and exactly what I hoped for when I first typed that email to a stranger. A full year now, our female-led relationship has grown roots deeper than I knew roots could go. We moved in together 6 months ago, a cozy apartment on the quieter side of the city, her choice. 2 bedrooms, one for guests, one transformed into a feminine sanctuary for me, closet space for my expanding wardrobe, a small balcony where I sometimes practice curtsies in the morning sun when no one's watching. The dynamic has matured. Every Sunday evening, we sit with tea or wine and review what's working, what isn't, what needs adjusting. I present femininely at home nearly all the time. Male clothes are reserved for work, though she sometimes sends me off with panties or a subtle camisole underneath, like a whispered secret only we share. Service is central: cooking, cleaning, laundry, pampering her with foot baths, manicures, drawn baths. I take pride in it now. It stopped being a chore list and became devotion. Discipline is loving but firm. Forgetting Miss Lena earns corner time or writing lines. Bigger slip-ups, being late, being sassy, mean over-the-knee spankings or wearing a plug for the evening. The sting fades. The lesson stays. And the aftercare hugs make everything feel structurally safe. New layers have settled in. She introduced light chastity about 4 months ago, a small, discreet cage, locked Monday through Friday, unlocked for intimacy on weekends. The first week was a hurricane of sensation and awareness. Now it's routine, a quiet hum of focus, my energy channeled where she directs it. No random distractions, just presence. Last month, we took a girls' weekend, a cabin in the hills. She packed my suitcase, dresses, heels, lingerie, makeup, a new corset as a surprise. No male clothes for 3 days. I served breakfast in a frilly apron, practiced contouring under her guidance, learned to dance in heels to soft music, and ended each night curled at her feet while she read or watched TV. On the last night, she collared me properly. Not the removable one, a slim permanent titanium band with a tiny engraved heart and her initials. It locks with a small key she wears on a chain around her neck. "This is real now," she said, clicking it closed. "You're mine and I'm yours. No more hiding who you are with me." I cried, the kind of tears that come when something you built in your imagination turns out to be even more solid in your hands. We made love slowly that night, tenderly, me in silken stockings, her guiding every movement like she'd choreographed it in advance. Challenges still come. Work stress pulls me into old, anxious patterns. She notices and draws me back with a gentle command or a quiet timeout. Family is a careful navigation, holidays in boy mode, but wearing subtle feminine touches underneath for courage, like armor made of lace. But looking back to that first terrified email, I never imagined this. A real partner who not only accepts but cherishes my femininity, who leads with confidence, who makes me feel seen, desired, and safe, not because I paid for a session but because I showed up as myself and she stayed. Being hers isn't a fantasy escape anymore. It's my reality, my home, my joy, and the thread I spent so long pretending wasn't there. She found it, took the end, and wove it into something I'm proud to wear.